Hi guys, good evening. I'm Ilangovan, teaching for zoology, onlineaxi.com. So last class we have started the process of evolution, how evolution is operating, the various evidences in favor of organic evolution. And now also we have to proceed further about the various theories regarding the support of evolution. Already we have concluded the Lamarckian concept, the use and disuse theory, the inheritance of acquired characters. Now the next one, the modified form of a Lamarckian concept. Simply we can say neo-Lamarckism. This is a modified form of just actually Lamarckian concept. Some of the people have accepted the Lamarckian concept and slightly modified the concept of Lamarckism. So according to these people, they are called as neo-Lamarckians. So they consider that adaptations are universal in nature. All organisms have adaptations to live a survival, to live a normal life in the environment. So they have developed new characters in order to just actually survive in the environment. So these new characters are developed, or the structures are developed due to their adaptations to the changed environmental conditions. So as a result of changed environmental conditions, the organisms have changed their lifestyle, even the habits also, so that they have developed new characters to suit the changed environmental conditions. Then such characters later become an inheritable trait, and in due course they have been inherited and passed on to the next generation. So anyway, according to these people, all organisms have the ability to adapt themselves to the changed environmental conditions. Those who have better adaptations can survive, and others are simply eliminated from the environment. And we have a number of people. So learning is an acquired character that can be inherited. That was proposed by McDowell. And also temperature related changes in the case of animals living in for example, warm conditions as well as cold conditions as per the Allen's rule. So these characters are normally inherited after their actually adaptations, but so far there is no experimental proof in almost all the characters proposed by Lamarck or neo-Lamarckians have been just have not been accepted, we can say, have not been accepted, and all these things are still under debate. Now let us pass on to the next one about the theory as proposed by August Weismann. So the theory of inheritance of acquired character as proposed by Lamarck has been disproved experimentally, not orally, proved, disproved experimentally. And that concept that was made by a German biologist by name August Weismann in 1890, he disproved the concept of that is Lamarckian theory of inheritance of acquired characters, and also another concept proposed by Darwin, namely the pangenesis concept or theory of pangenesis. So August Weismann in 1890, he just actually proposed the theory of germplasm or germinal selection theory, germplasm theory or germinal selection theory. So he was the first person differentiated the body cells or the protoplasm into two types. One is called the somatoplasm or the somatic cells, another one the germplasm or the reproductive cells. So based on these differences, he has conducted so many experiments in order to disprove the concept of inheritance of acquired characters as well as the concept of theory of pangenesis proposed by Darwin. So he was the first person. Now I mentioned already, in the body we have two types of cells. One is called the somatic, another one the reproductive. And he named them as somatoplasm and then what is called the germplasm. So he was the first person differentiated the protoplasm of the body into somatoplasm and germplasm. And normally in the case of genetics or in the case of inheritance, so the somatoplasm has no role in the transmission of characters. That means it doesn't play any role in the mechanism of heredity. That means suppose you are acquiring an injury as a result of accident, you have left some scar on the body. That scar is actually developed in the body cells. Even the ear boring in the case of female, it is also an example for a change. The hole that is being made in the case of female. That hole cannot be transmitted to the next generation, to a child to be born to that what is called the woman having the ear bone. So, any change in the somatoplasm, like a scar or the ear bone, that is in the case of female, has not been transmitted to the next generation. And from this, it is normally assumed that somatoplasm has no role in heredity. But any change that occurs in the reproductive cells, for example, during the World War II, when nuclear explosion or bombardment in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, normally had resulted a number of individuals which were born to the pregnant mother had some sort of problems, some deficiency in their body parts, because those nuclear explosions have affected mainly the reproductive cells, caused some changes. That is why the resultant individuals also have developed some sort of deficiency, some sort of changes in their characters. So any change in the reproductive cell can be inherited. So it plays a major role in the mechanism of heredity. That's why I represented here. Somatoplasm does not play any role in heredity, whereas the germplasm and the reproductive cells play an important role in heredity. So that means any changes that occur in the reproductive cells can be transmittable when compared to the changes that are occurring in the body cells. So those changes in the body cells cannot be inheritable. Cannot be inheritable. That means cannot be transmitted to the next generation. So in order to prove this one, he conducted an experiment. The name of the experiment is called decauterization experiment on, that is, mice. What is decauterization? The removal of the tail. So he took actually a pair of rats. He just cut the tail of the male and female rats and allowed them to mate. He received the first generation. Again in the first generation he cut the tail, allowed them to mate. So likewise he conducted experiments for nearly more than 20 generations. What for? So the character what we acquired, nothing but the tailless condition. Here the acquired character is nothing but the tailless condition. So he did decauterization for nearly more than 20 generations. So irrespective of the number of generations, he didn't receive any rat without any rat, just actually what we can say with the tailless condition. So no rat was born, that is here I am using the word just a mistake, the mice. So no mouse was born with actually ratless condition, with a tailless condition. No mouse was born just with tailless condition. So the tailless condition here is considered as an acquired character. That is why he did what is called the experiment decauterization. But that no mice normally were born with what is called tailless condition. So the acquired character, namely the tailless condition, even after 20 generations, have not been transmitted. Because we are cutting the tail only in the body. The tail is made up of only the somatic cells. When the tail is being cut, as it is a somatic cell, such a change cannot be transmittable. And that was the experiment conducted by him to prove that any character that has been acquired during the lifetime of an individual with reference to the body cells cannot be transmittable. And that is a concept what is called the germplasm theory. So he differentiated the somatoplasm, he differentiated the protoplasm into somatoplasm and the germplasm. So any change in the somatoplasm has not been transmitted to the next generation. If there is any change in the what is called the germplasm, the reproductive cells, such changes can be transmitted to the next generation. So based on this experimental analysis, he disproved the concept of inheritance of acquired characters as made by Lamar. Now let's pass on to the next theory as proposed by Darwin. Simply we can say Darwinism. So Charles Robert Darwin, he was a British naturalist, not an economist, not a biologist, not a scientist, not an evolutionist. He was a British naturalist. So he was born in England and he had a relationship with others. So he was appointed as a person to take the statistical data about the flora and fauna of the Pacific Ocean islands. So he went on voyage in a ship as a recorder. So he went on voyage in a ship. The name of the ship, HMS Beagle. So he went on voyage for nearly 5 years, from 1831 to 1836. So he visited so many places and explored the fauna and flora of Pacific Islands. One such island he visited, Galapagos Island. One such island he visited, Galapagos Island. So he collected so many data from this island about the fauna and flora. Now, till today, this Galapagos Island has a number of individuals and also gives evidences in favor of evolution. That is why it is called as the living laboratory of evolution. Living laboratory of evolution. So the Darwin's fringe is what we can see with reference to what is called adaptive radiation, also collected from this island only. So after returning to England in 1836, just he made nearly for 20 years, the next 20 years. He worked with another person also indirectly, and he made his concept of Darwinism in 1859. So he published his results, the facts and observations in a book, namely The Origin of Species by Natural Selection. But the expansion of the book, the original name of the book, so actually, Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. So the name of the ship he actually just used for his voyage, HMS Beagle. Don't forget, he went on voyage for nearly 5 years and did his experiment analysis for nearly more than 20 years. After returning to England, he spent nearly for 20 years and started his work in 1859 and published his work also, that one. And his contributions was based on certain observations, and he was much influenced by 3 publications. 3 different people just normally inspired Darwin. That inspiration was the basis for proposing his concept of a natural selection theory. So that is The Origin of Species, the book. 1. His first observation actually, what we call this one, all individuals have the ability to reproduce enormously. Each individual has an enormous rate of reproduction, enormous power of fertility. That is called prodigality of species. And that inspiration comes from the book, namely on the principles of population by T.R. Malthus. So he was influenced by this book only. Based on this book only, he made his first actually proposition or fact. All individuals have the ability to reproduce, over reproductive rate, enormous power of fertility, or we can say prodigality. That was because of reading the book on the principles of population by T.R. Malthus. The second one, principles of geology, as proposed by Sir Charles Lyell. When Darwin was actually making his contribution towards evolution for making the book Origin of Species, another person from Malay Archipelago, the present Thailand, and he also actually did so many analyses, facts observed, and independently he also made the concept of natural selection. So, and the name of the book, just actually the publications, on the tendency of varieties to depart indefinitely from their original types. The name of the person, Alfred Russel Wallace, he did independently. He sent his papers to Darwin. So Darwin gracefully accepted his papers and published his book along with the findings of Alfred Russel Wallace. That is why now the natural selection concept is also called Darwin-Wallace theory of natural selection. Aptly we can see Darwin-Wallace theory of natural selection as proposed by Alfred Russel Wallace from Malay Archipelago, the present Thailand. Now these were the 3 publications of the people who just influenced Darwin to make his concept, what is called the Darwinism. Then actually his theory was based on certain facts. So in 1859 only he published his theory of what is called the natural selection in his book, The Origin of Species by Natural Selection. The book is also named The Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. So what were the facts proposed by Darwin in his concept of natural selection? As I mentioned earlier, number 1, all the individuals have the innate power, inborn ability to reproduce. All the individuals are reproducing at a geometrical rate. The number of individuals are increasing geometrically rather than arithmetically. That enormous power of reproduction is called prodigality. Even if you are taking the slowest breeder, take an example of elephant. It starts breeding at the age of 30. It can just reproduce up to the age of 90. So during its entire life period, the reproductive period, it can give birth nearly about 6 offspring. If a pair of elephants are reproducing in such a rate, in about 19 million, in about what is called 1750 years, 1750 years, there are about 90 million elephants are being produced, but no such increase in individual is taking place. Though the enormous power of reproduction is seen in different groups of individuals, but there is a check, and that check is coming from the nature. That's why the concept has been made. Though the number of individuals are increasing, but there is a constancy in the number of individuals in a population of each species. That is the second proposition or the second fact. So constancy in population of each species in nature. Though the bacteria or any oyster or any other fish or a sparrow, so when they are reproducing at a higher rate, there is a check in the population growth rate. That is why there is a constancy in the number of individuals in each species during their actual life cycle. So there is a constancy in the population of each species in nature. How is it possible? And Father Pune has given the third fact: struggle for existence. That is nothing but competition. Though he used the phrase what is called the struggle for existence, that concept was made by Alfred Russel Wallace, and Darwin utilized that concept, struggle for existence. That is, there is always competition among the individuals between different species or among the individuals of the same species. There is also competition between the individuals and the environment. So accordingly, the individuals have to compete with each other for food, for mating, and also for shelter, either with another organism or within the same group of organisms or with the environmental conditions. So accordingly, we have 3 different types of struggle. 1. Intraspecific struggle. Struggle between the individuals of the same species, between 2 lions, between 2 tigers, between 2 cattle, between 2 goats, etc. So this struggle is most severe check. So it is most severe because it produces check on the reproduction of the individuals. As it is happening between the individuals of the same species, they are competing with each other for mate and shelter. This check is almost severe in the case of individuals belonging to the same species. Then the second one, interspecific struggle. The struggle between 2 different species. Of all the struggles, either it is intraspecific or inter or environmental, it is the most common type of struggle. Because 2 individuals are having the same niche. What is the meaning for that one? That is, actually it is the most common type. Because 2 different species are competing for the same type of food. Competition is therefore just actually for attaining the same type of food, for attaining for the same type of habitat or shelter. So an example, competition between a lion and a tiger. And both are competing with each other for obtaining the same type of food. That is why it is called as the most common type of struggle. Because 2 different species are competing for the same type of what is called the food. As they are having their own food, similar food, competition is severe also here, it's most common type. So one example I gave you, for example, the lion and tiger, or between a goat and a cattle, or between different goats, etc. Or a vulture and also, for example, kingfisher, like that. Then environmental struggle. So this is a struggle between actually the organisms and the environmental conditions, like the weather, the climatic conditions, the storm, then we have the rain. So for all these things, actually the organisms have to compete with the environment. This is what is called as an environmental struggle. So there is a struggle for existence to compete with other organisms for their survival. That is fact number 3. So because of the struggle only, we have a constancy in the number of individuals in a population. This is a check for population growth for a particular species. That is why the number is always constant. There is no increase increase at a higher rate in any of the individuals in a particular population. This is because of the struggle, the competition. So there is also one question. So in the case of New Zealand or in the case of Australia, why are the marsupials are more abundant? The reason for that one, competition is not severe there. Competition is not severe there. Even you know that one, there are no carnivorous animals. That is why the marsupials dominated in Australia. Competition is not severe. And also, you know that one, in the case of Galapagos Islands, what I mentioned, the living laboratory of evolution, there also one fact has been observed by Darwin. The individuals there are much larger. If you are taking iguana, the lizard, the crocodilian form, the birds or some other organisms, they are somewhat larger. The reason for their larger size in Galapagos Islands, there also the competition is not severe. That is why the organisms in Galapagos Islands are also large. So two examples, one in Australia, another one in Galapagos Islands. So in these areas, the competition is not severe, That is why the organisms are leading a peaceful life, as in the case of marsupials and also the animals and other organisms living in Galapagos Islands. Now the fifth concept, while organisms are competing with each other, so in that competition some of the organisms, you know, they would die. That is why we have constancy in the number of individuals in a population. So while some organisms are not able to withstand the natural conditions of the environment, some are able to survive and they can lead a normal life. That concept is called survival of the fittest. This concept was made by Herbert Spencer, the one who proposed the organic evolution. So when organisms are actually leading a life, those organisms having beneficial adaptations, the inherent adaptations, they will survive. Others which would not able to withstand the environmental conditions, the changed conditions, would die. That concept is called survival of the fittest. Here the doctrine is nothing but the nature which selects the right type of individuals, allowing those organisms having inheritable trait, adaptable trait to survive and eliminate those which are not having the adaptations. And followed by the survival of the fittest, the final conclusion. So, natural selection. How? So, formation of new species by means of natural selection. So, those organisms having heritable variations, they accumulate their variations in their body and they have the ability to adapt themselves to the changed environmental conditions. So, that is why they occupy the next level in the evolutionary ladder and they develop into a new species in course of time. So, slow fluctuating variations over a period of time in an organism results in the formation of a new character or a new species. So according to actually Darwin, he called it as a microevolution. So evolution of species by slow fluctuating variations over a period of time. Unlike the concept made by Hugo de Vries, will come later once again, compare the concept made by Hugo de Vries and the mutation theory and also the evolutionary concept proposed by Darwin. So anyway, those organisms having the survival value with adaptations are selected by nature. So the natural selection is nothing but an imaginary concept which includes those factors which are responsible for the normal life leading processes which are helping the organisms to lead a normal life. For example, the food or any other factors. So that is an imaginary concept only, but favors those organisms having survival value to lead a normal life and eliminating those organisms without any what is called survival value. That is a concept, the origin of species by means of natural selection. So accumulation of variable characters, accumulation of inheritable characters over a period of time, not 1 year or 2 years or 100 years, but millions of years, leading to the formation of a new species, and that is called the origin of species by means of natural selection. So there are two basic concepts of actually Darwinian evolution theory. One actually where number one, branching descent. That is nothing but the new descendants have been developed. The new organisms have been developed from the ancestral forms through variations, which accumulate over generations for a longer period or for a prolonged time, results in the formation of new species. And that too, that is because of the second basic concept of Darwinian theory of evolution, that is the natural selection. It is a nature which selects the right type of individuals which have been descended from the common ancestors or from the ancestors with adaptive value. This is what is happening, that is in the case of Darwinian concept. So the two major basic principles, descent with modifications or branching descent. Descent with modifications or branching descent, and also natural selection, selecting the right type of organisms based on what is called the natural fit. That is a nature which is selecting the right type of individuals, and those have the fittest value or fit value to survive. Though Darwin, the famous one, so you know that one, Mendel's concept of inheritance was not accepted in those days. In 1865, once he proposed his concept of inheritance, the genetics, because Darwin was more famous during that time. So whatever things he proposed easily reached the people, and whatever just proposed by Mendel did not reach the people. The reason for that one is given everything in the form of mathematical principles. People couldn't like the mathematical principle in support of his view. But Darwinian concept, for example, all individuals have the ability to reproduce, then constants in the number of individuals of a species in the population, then the struggle for existence. So these are all the common ideas, and that could reach the people easily. That's why he was very famous. Though Darwin was very famous for just proposing his concept of Darwin theory, namely the natural selection, there were some objections made by different people. What were the concepts made by him were not accepted by some people. So what were the objections to Darwinism? Number one. So though he made variations of the raw materials for evolution, because of the accumulation of variations over a period of long time, results in the formation of new species. That is this basic principle. Actually, variations are mainly responsible for the formation of new species. Though he used variations as a raw material for evolution, he could not able to distinguish the heritable and non-heritable variations. Those variations which are transmittable and those variations which are non-transmittable, he did not know. He did not differentiate such differences between heritable and non-heritable variations. And also he was not able to differentiate the somatic and germinal variations. Somatic variations that occur in the body cells and germinal variations that occur in the reproductive cells. So he is not able to distinguish somatic and germinal variations also. And though he just insisted variations of the raw materials for evolution, he could not explain the origin of such variations, the cause of such variations. He knew that variations of the raw materials. That was accepted by the people also, but he could not explain the origin of such variations, how far the variations came into exist, and also he did not explain the cause of such variations. He made the principle in that one, the survival of the fittest. He made the principle the survival of the fittest, organisms having the fittest volume, fittest actually the value, they were able to survive and others were eliminated. But he could not explain the arrival of the fittest, how far these fittest organisms came into exist. He did not explain. So he explained only the survival of the fittest, but he could not explain the arrival of the fittest organisms. So, and also, he explained only that he gave more importance only for the fittest organisms. But during his time, the fitter and fittest organisms were also present. And only those organisms having the fittest value were selected, and others, the fit and fitted organisms, were neglected or simply eliminated. So he did not explain actually the fit and fitted and fittest organisms in his theory. He gave more importance only the fittest organisms. So he did not explain the arrival of such fittest organisms in nature. And again, in some organisms, some specialized structures develop more than the normal level. That is what is called the over-specialization. And the over-specialization or the development of abnormal structures led to that is actually the extinction of such animals. So he could not explain the cause for such over-specialization in some organisms and such specialization also responsible for the disappearance or the extinction of such organisms. Two examples we have. One, the antlers in the case of iris deer. So in the case of island deer, the antlers, the horns were normally larger than the normal level. They were highly branched. So when these organisms were moving through the forest while running, they were trapped because of this highly branched over specialized antlers. And that was the main cause for their extinction. So such deer already came extinct, already disappeared, became extinct. And another one in the case of one mammoth, elephant, a large elephant, and that was reported by Jefferson elephant and Jefferson mammoth. So in the case of these mammoths, long tusk, even the touch with the ground level. So because of the overgrowth of the tusk, the animal were unable to move for a long distance. That was an obstruction to the animal, and because of that obstruction, they hurdled and then just actually fell down and died, and that resulted in the extinction of such over specialized structures, leading to the extinction of such animals, maybe the Jefferson mammals. So he did not explain what was the cause for the development of such over specialized structures in the case of organisms. Okay, another one, you know that one, he gave the concept of pangenesis, and before that, so normally according to Darwin, small fluctuating variations over a period of time resulted in the formation of new species. That is called microevolution. But some of the organisms in new species have developed or originated just all of a sudden. And such actually appearance of individuals all of a sudden are considered as the macro variations because of single step, that's the variation. A single step change in a short period, all of a sudden, one organism immediately converted or developed into a new species. And such variations which resulted in the formation of new species all of a sudden are called macro variations. So he did not consider such macro variations. What was the reason for all of a sudden a new character or a new species developed from the preceding individual, or we can say the progenitor or the ancestor? So he called such variations simply spores of nature. All of a sudden something happened in nature. That was the main reason for the development of a new species all of a sudden. So macro variations resulted in the formation of new species all of a sudden without undergoing a number of intermediates, without taking a much longer period. But according to Darwin, he considered only the micro variations. That means small fluctuating variations over a period of time, millions of years, leading to the formation of new species. So he did not give importance to the macro variations. Then the last one, theory of pangenesis, what I mentioned. So what do we make pangenes? They are also called plastocules, also called gemmules. So these were actually imagined particles of inheritance, as what we have at present the genes. So he did not know anything about genetics. He did not know anything about the factors or the genes responsible for the transmission of characters. That is why, in a simple way, imagine, he just say some particles. He called them as what is called the gemmules or plastocules or pangenes. So they are nothing but imagined particles of inheritance. Imagined particles as proposed by Darwin, imagined particles. So each and every organ has the capacity to produce such imagined particles called the pangenes or gemmules or plastocules. According to the nature of the organ, they are named differently. For example, pangenes from the leg, they are called leg gemmules. Pangenes from the heart, they are called what is known as, that is, heart gemmules or heart pangenes. So they are assumed to be produced by the different organs in the body. One, so different organs produce such replicate structures, and they are transported or carried by the blood to the gametes, particularly first one to the gonads, either to the testes or to the ovaries in the case of female, and where they are accumulated in the gametes. And from the gametes they are transmitted to the next generation during reproduction. That concept was considered as actually, that is a crude method. This concept is also called the theory of pangenesis. So the pangenes from every organ transmitted or simply carried by the bloodstream to the gonads, either to the testes or the ovaries, where they are accumulated in the gametes, from where they are transmitted to the next generation during reproduction to the gametes. So this concept somewhat related to what is called genetic factor, namely the genes, but it is lacking just what is called genetical basis. That's why it's also neglected. This concept was disproved, what I mentioned earlier, by August Weismann. Now, evolution is not only produced spontaneously in nature by natural means, but also because of human activities. Some sort of evolution happens to occur in nature. So normally evolution occurs spontaneously, created by nature, but some evolutionary process is also created by human, and such evolutionary process is called anthropogenic evolution. Evolution caused by human activities, human action. So the examples of evolution by anthropogenic action, by human activities. The best example we have, and also accepted one, experimentally proved one, industrial melanese in England. So this is the classical example for natural selection. Though lengthening of neck in giraffe that was proposed by Lamarck, that is also the best example for natural selection. Another classical example for natural selection is industrial melanism. In the case of one moth, a grey colored moth that was collected in England before industrialization and after industrialization. What happened in the case of that moth? This is what is called peppered grey moth. Peppered grey moth. The name of the moth, Pistil vitullaria. This is the best example for, that is what is called the natural selection, and that too for the industrial melanism. And this moth originally was grey in color, was more abundant when before industrialization, that is in 1850s, before industrialization or industrial revolution that occurred in England. The grey colored moth was more in abundance. But after industrialization, that is in the 1920s, what happened? So more number of dark-winged moths were collected from that area. That means the proportion is reversed. Before industrialization, before industrial revolution, so we received more number of grey moth, the moth with the grey color. And after industrialization, because of the smoke release, what would happen? So more number of dark-winged moths were collected from these industrial areas. The number more, that showed what is called the proportion was reversed from grey to, that is, increased number of dark-winged forms. So what is the reason for that? So after industrialization, what would happen? The background of nature became darker in color due to the smoke deposit. As this moth was grey in color, it was caught easily by the predators. So they were caught easily by the predator, just like the birds. So the main explanation given for this observation, the moths were spotted easily by the predators against the contrast background. So the background was black in color, but the moths were grey in color, so that the predators could find easily the presence of grey colored moths. That is why they were caught. That was the main observation made. That was explanation given. Main explanation given for this observation was actually the predators will spot the moths against a contrasting background. So what is industrial melanism? So evolution of darker forms or natural selection of darker forms in response to industrial pollution. So because of the industrial pollution, the grey colored forms have been converted to form dark colored forms. See, in 50s we had more grey. Then in 1920s we had more, that is, dark forms. And such a condition is called industrial melanism. Simply the definition is like that. So natural selection of darker forms in response to industrial pollution is called industrial melanism. This is because of the industries, and that is because of smoke. The darker forms increase in number from grey to dark. Then, this concept, this hypothesis of industrial melanism was experimentally proved by one ecologist by name Bernard Ketchel. He did his experiments in 1950s. In 1956 only just the reverse occurs. We'll see later. So Bernard Ketchel wanted to just actually prove this hypothesis, namely industrial melanism. So he tested the hypothesis experiment. So for that, he released two sets of masks in equal numbers. So each set has both grey color and what is called the pigmented masks. Grey color and dark color masks in equal numbers were set free in two sets. One to the industrial area, namely the Birmingham area of England. So Birmingham area is famous for industrial area. And then another one, the Dorset area in England, that is non-industrialized area, unpolluted area we can say. So he set free one set of masks into the industrial area, namely the Birmingham area of England. Another set he set free in unpolluted area, namely the Dorset area of England. Then, what was the observation made? So later after some time, he recaptured the mass. So he recaptured the mass both from the darker regions, from the smoke areas, industrial areas or polluted area, and also recaptured the mass from the industrial area, that is non-industrial area, unpolluted area. He collected more number of grey mass from non-polluted area, and he collected more number of what is called dark colored mass in industrial area, where smoke was set free by the industries. So that showed that actually the differential survival nature of the mass. So according to the background, see that one, the animal had developed a new character in order to adapt to the changed environmental conditions. For example, the grey colored moth increased number in areas where there is no industrialization, where there is no pollution. And similarly, the dark colored forms increase number in areas where you have the pollution. In this one, the grey colored mass also get converted into the black colored mass to just adjust itself to the changed environmental condition, namely the dark background. As they are black in color, they could not be just actually formed by the predator. So there was no contrast between the body color and the background. So in the case of areas where we have the smoke, we have more number of pigmented marks, and in the areas where we have no smoke, we have more number of grey colored marks. That is what he observed. Now, and so he observed experiment. The same condition was also, the same hypothesis was also supported by, that is actually by the fact that in areas where industrialization did not occur, in those areas where there was no industrialization, particularly the rural areas. So they have collected only just a few number, a less number of what is called the colored ones and the melanic forms. So naturally also in those areas where there was no smoke, they collected simply just actually less number of melanic forms. So this proposed the concept that in a mixed population, suppose we have that is dark and grey colored mass in a mixed population of such two, just that is one example, and those that can better adaptive value we can say, those that can better adaptive value. So those that can better adapt themselves, they survive. They increase number, that is why the population size also increases. So in unpolluted area, the population of grey colored forms. In polluted areas, that is the number of darker forms move. So this is because of the adaptive value. So the organisms have adapted themselves to the changed environmental conditions. Accordingly, with more adaptive value, the organisms surviving, they increase in number, in size of population. This is because of the reproductive rate. Then later in the assembly of that is in the parliament, we can say the Parliament of England, a constitution was made to reduce the pollution. That was made in 1956. So once it was made, So the number of industries actually have reduced the release of pollution, smoke. That is why what happened. So after 1956, once again, the number of grain marts had increased. This is because of non-industrialization, because of non-release of the smoke. So anyway, what will happen? The reduction in pollution is correlated with reverse evolution. That is from once again dark to grey. This is called reverse evolution in the case of grey colored mark. So because of reduction in pollution after 1956, we had what is called the reverse evolution. So the reverse evolution. This reverse evolution is correlated with reduction in pollution because of what is called non-industrialization by the amendment made by the English government. So anyway, this is the best example for evolution of darker forms because of human activity. That's why it's called anthropogenic action. Evolution resulted because of anthropogenic action or because of human activities. So two more. So here is the picture. You see that one. This is the grey mark and this is the darker form. And here this is a normal condition. So we have this is the normal condition. The background is light. And here you see that one. This is the darker form. See the contrast background. And this is the grey color form within the sun. So the grey colored mark is in coloration with matching the color of the background. But the darker forms could not match the color. So there is a contrast between the body color and the background color so that they could be easily formed by the predators. Now in the case this is unpolluted area. Now in the second case, in the polluted area, because of the smoke, we have the darker background. And here this is what we have, the grey mark, which is few in number, and the darker forms. So you will not be able to differentiate the darker forms from the background as both are black in color. And in the case of this one, as it is grey in color, they could be easily found by the predator. They could be caught by the predator. That is when their number decreased. In the case of polluted area, here the number of darker forms decrease in the case of unpolluted area, and the other one is increased, just actually in opposite way. This is because of industrial mechanism. Just observe the case of grey colored mark. Now another evolutionary process because of anthropogenic action or because of human activity. So we are using high concentration of pesticides and herbicides. What for? To kill the pest, and to kill the pest, the one which causes damage, and also to kill the unwanted plants which affect the growth of the plants. So we are using pesticides and herbicides. So which resulted, when we are using this one for a prolonged time, it resulted in the production of resistant varieties, but not much of years, much of time, but in much lesser time scale. For example, in a year or 2 months or 3 months, not in centuries. So in a limited time scale only, the resistant varieties develop. So it is not because of actually evolution that happened according to Darwin for millions of years. When you are using herbicides and pesticides for a prolonged period, this is because of anthropogenic action or human activity. We have developed resistant varieties to pesticides and herbicides much lesser time scale of months or years, but not in centuries. The same is the case, the third example. So we are employing, that one, the drugs and antibiotics to just actually cause damage to the bacteria, which also resulted nowadays, that one, the production of resistant varieties or the development of resistant varieties. Here also in a much lesser time scale of a few months or years, not in centuries. So these are all the resistant varieties which have developed all of a sudden within a short period of time because of human activities. So these are all the three major examples. One is industrial mechanism, another one development of resistant varieties, again the pesticides and herbicides, and the third one resistant varieties developed against antibiotics in the case of bacteria. All are examples of evolution of new species or new strains because of human activities. Now, the third theory, mutation theory. So what do you mean by mutation? So it is defined any sudden, that is normally random, any sudden, random. Random means it occurs in any direction. Discontinuous. That means discontinuous means A species all of a sudden gets converted into another species. The variation resulted like that, without any intermediates, without any intermediate characters. So, a sudden random and then discontinuous, then inheritable changes. So, any sudden, then random, occurs in any direction, discontinuous, without any intermediate stage, a new character has been developed. And such characters are inheritable. Such sudden heritable changes, which occur discontinuously at random, just independent of the environment. There is no connection between the environment and the formation of such characters. So we have normally formed in individuals new variations because of one phenomenon. Very often it occurs during crossing over, and that process is called genetic recombination. So one of the important, actually, the characters of sexual reproduction, formation of new characters by genetic recombination. But mutation is other than this genetic recombination change, the one which occurs naturally inside the body because of the phenomenon of crossing over during meiosis. That is why mutation is nothing but sudden, random, discontinuous, heritable change, independent of the environment, without the involvement of the environment in the organism, other than the change caused by genetic recombination. This is a normal process happening during meiosis. That is one of the important characteristics of, that one of the sexual reproduction. So such a concept is called mutation. Then who observed the mutation first? So the first mutation was observed by Seth Wright, a person in one sheep variety. All of a sudden, he observed a lamb was born with short legs, and the name of the breed, Ancon breed of sheep. That was the first observation made by a scientist by name Seth Wright. It was not observed by Hugo de Vries. Hugo de Vries only later time. So the concept of mutation, the sudden change, heritable change, was first observed by Seth Wright in the case of one sheep, that is Ancon breed of sheep. So all of a sudden, one lamb was born with a short leg. Then only that was enlightened later. So the term mutation was coined by Hugo de Vries. The mutation theory was also developed by Hugo de Vries. He observed mutation in the case of one evening primrose. So in the case of primrose, he observed the different varieties, the height, the nature of the stem, etc. Vanilla variety, Jali variety, short variety. So many differences he observed in the case of this primrose plant, and that one is called Inothera lamarckia. So that observation was made by Hugo de Vries, and he just developed the concept of mutation theory in 1901, a Dutch scientist. So the mutation theory as well as the term mutation was developed. The word mutation was developed by Hugo de Vries, a Dutch scientist, a botanist in 1901. So others also made observations regarding this one. So first observation was made by Seth Wright. He didn't know just it was because of mutation. Later it was proposed that the concept, the change was because of a sudden change. That word was given by the mutation by name, that is the person Hugo de Vries. He was the first person who has given the name, that is mutation, for such sudden changes. So he observed just actually the mutation in the case of evening primrose, Inothera lamarckia. That is the name of the plant. So just because of that one, and you see that one because of ploidy only that happened, but later it was found that mutation in the case of Inothera lamarckia was due to translocation, one of the chromosomal aberrations. Then different people had given different explanations for mutations at the time. Darwin called mutations or such variations, such sudden changes, as forms. Change simply sports change, or saltations, sudden jump. Simply, all of a sudden, a character has developed. This is because of the environmental effect. Then Bateson, the one who observed what is called the coupling and repulsion, the linkage phenomenon, he just actually called mutations as discontinuous variations. As one species evolves into another species without giving rise to a new species or intermediate species in between, and that is why he calls such variations as discontinuous variations. According to Mendel, you have the discontinuous variations. If you are taking any character, they fall only into two categories. Say an example, the height of the plant. One is tall, another one is dwarf, in between which there is no intermediate variety. Such characters or such variations are called discontinuous variations. But if you are taking the body weight at a particular age of human beings or the skin color, we have different shades of skin color: negro, black, mulattoes, that one, the light white. Like that, we have different shades of skin color. Such variations are called continuous variations. They fall in different categories. So in between the two extremities, we have some intermediate characters, intermediate varieties. Then such variations are called continuous. If a particular character falls one into two categories, then it's called a discontinuous variation. So Darwin coined such mutations as discontinuous variations. Any organism which undergoes mutation is called as a mutant. Any organism which undergoes mutation is called as a mutant. So the mutant variety, we have developed so much of plants, animals, and such organisms which went on mutation are considered as the mutant varieties. Now let's come to the mutation theory. So what is mutation? See, we have seen what is mutation. What does actually the mutation theory state? Now it states that new full-fledged species. Full-fledged means no intermediate varieties. A new species has been evolved from already existing one because of the variations. So a new full-fledged species originate at once, all of a sudden. How? Due to large discontinuous variations. Large variations, that is called macrogenesis. Large variations, that is discontinuous variations. So all of a sudden, only first variety gets converted to another without any intermediate characters. So that is called actually the mutation theory. It states that full-fledged species originate all of a sudden at once, immediately, due to large discontinuous variations which occur suddenly. That is the concept of the mutation theory. Now what are the salient features of the mutation theory? I mentioned already, all mutations occur naturally in sexually reproducing organisms or in a breeding populations, we can say, naturally breeding population. So mutation always occurs in a naturally breeding population. Number two, all such mutations or variations are heritable, transmitted. All such variations are transmitted. So normally all these mutations are large in nature, macrogenesis, and occurs all of a sudden within a short period, unlike see the Darwinian concept of evolution. So differ from fluctuating variations, small fluctuating variations over a period of time. So all variations resulted all of a sudden, which are large, unlike the variations gradually occurring in the case of individuals as proposed by Darwin. So that is about large sudden, differ from the fluctuating variations of Darwin, small fluctuating variations. Then the mutations are always at random. That means it occurs in any direction. So it doesn't occur, actually it is not actually directional. It occurs, unlike for example Darwin said that all changes are directional. The evolution is directional, occurring in one direction. But here it is non-directional. That is why I said actually random. It occurs in any direction. It occurs in any direction. That is why the evolution is also at random. So evolution is also occurring at any directions as per the rule of what is called the mutation. Then those mutations, some mutations are beneficial and such mutant varieties are selected and others are eliminated. That is why mutations are subjected to natural selection. Beneficial mutations are selected, harmful mutations are eliminated. And I mentioned mutations are discontinuous. That means there are no intermediate varieties. So they are not accumulated in generations. They are simply passed on. They never accumulate. So they never accumulated also, we can say as per the word. So mutations are discontinuous, not accumulated in generations. Then the last characteristic feature. So the mutations are full-fledged. I mentioned already what is the meaning of full-fledged mutations. So when we are saying this mutation is full-fledged, the meaning for that one, there are no intermediate varieties. For example, species 1 gets converted into species 2 all of a sudden. A single step large mutation, a sudden jump, we can say saltation. So if a new species has resulted without any intermediate varieties, then it is called a full-fledged mutation. So here it occurs all of a sudden jump, what is called saltation, or a single step large mutation, what is called the macrogenesis. So anyway, the mutations are full-fledged. That is why we can say there are no new intermediate varieties between the development of two different or any species from the original variety. And this concept of mutation was experimentally proved and observed in one organism, namely the Drosophila melanogaster, the Cinderella of genetics. We can say Drosophila melanogaster. Most of the laws of Mendel and most of other characteristics, even this mutation concept, was proved experimentally in an organism, namely Drosophila melanogaster. It is simply called a Cinderella of genetics by one scientist by name T.H. Morgan. So the concept of Mendel, the concept of mutation, all were experimentally proved by the geneticist T.H. Morgan in Drosophila. He had chosen Drosophila because the Drosophila had only 4 pairs of chromosomes, very limited number of chromosomes. That is why any experiment was possible as the number of chromosomes and also the number of genes very much limited. So these were some of the things related to mutation. We will proceed further in the next class. So as a moment of time, as already time has been completed. So you have the right to ask any question related to the topics, post your questions. I am ready to answer for any questions related to the topic. So thank you. I will proceed once again the next class. Class is complete.